Alhikmat Dawah Services is offering a Ramadan Umrah trip visiting Medina and Mecca on May 11th to May 20th, 2019. Group will be led by Shaikh Shafayat with an approximate cost of $24.95 per person, departing from Miami, Florida, inshallah. If you are interested in this package, please contact Alhikmat Dawah Services at USA Office 954-986-0158 or our Trinidad office 868-325-8276, or you can email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
All praises are due to Allahu Allah. All praises are due to Allahu Allah. Allahu 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 Allah. Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you would like to dedicate copies of one of these publications as Sadaqah Jariyah, continuous blessings for your parents or dear ones who have passed away, or fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, please give us a call so we can place your names on these dedicated publications. You can call us at 954-986-0158, or you can also visit us at www.alhikmat.com.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator of all races. Allahu, 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 Allah.
Since 9/11, there has been a great fear of Islam.
We need Muslims, I always say, to speak up in this country.
Much of our Islamic community is perceived to be insular.
Most Americans have never met a Muslim or are not aware of having met a Muslim.
Most people don't have enough education in terms of what the entirety of Islam represents.
It's very easy to hate someone or to put stereotypes on people that you've never interacted with.
But do you think if Muslims were more integrated in society, in America, in the United States of America, then there would have been less anti-Muslim scenario?
I think it's even more important that our clergy speak up. They are, after all, the moral force in our community.
You see, the Islam that is celebrated is one which opens its doors.
Having this type of dialogue in terms of a community outreach, or
Something that Muslims have to do is go out just like you do and inviting non-Muslims to the iftar. And you do a lot of speaking to mixed groups.
We have to change the language from us versus them to a language of we.
I believe that if we can stand together against the forces of hatred and be unified in this country, then we can do wonderful things.
Bringing us together to enhance the beauty of humankind.
I think religion can be such a powerful force for unity.
Of course.
We've made it into this powerful force for disunity.
Keep trying to understand each other and care for each other and keep building a world community, because I believe that's what God wants for us all.
And I'm in their mosques and they're in my temple, and it's been a phenomenal experience. I've had a very warm and welcoming experience from all the brothers and sisters in the community.
That every human being is either your brother in faith or brother in humanity.
In Arabic, the word is lita'arafu, so that you will learn to understand one another.
And this is the truth of what it should be. You see, this is why I am so pleased to come here today, to support the work of Alhikmat.
The kind of intolerance and the violence that we see across the globe is rooted in ignorance, which we can overcome by teaching.
Yes.
Also rooted in fear, which we can overcome by experiencing, where we can actually live in each other's presence. It's rooted in this myopic kind of my way only, rather than this understanding that maybe all of us have more in common, and at the core of who we are is this truly global family that we belong to.
I'd like to say what a joy and pleasure it is to have Shaikh Shafayat as my friend, as my teacher, as my co-worker in the vineyard of Allah, God, where we work together to make this world a better place, to do God's work, to do the work which we are commanded to do as human beings.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Global Issues on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to have with us in Alhikmat studio Mr. Steve West and Angela Williams. Yes. It's really a pleasure to have you all, and they are doing some fantastic work and community services, especially in the area of gun violence and crime that is actually in most countries nowadays in the world. It's a disease, it's a sickness, it's a very sad thing. And I love the name that Angela Williams established with her organizers, I would suppose, on that organization called MAMA. Yes. Would you like to share with our viewers what MAMA stands for?
Mothers Against Murders Association.
Mothers Against
Murderers
Association. That is interesting. And Steve West here, you are with the Friends of Mama.
Yes, we are. We're in support of Mama in every way.
So I know that you all are very much active nowadays in different projects and your hands are very filled. But can you tell us a little bit about your background? What motivated you to get involved in an organization like this?
What motivated me was that phone call I got 6 o'clock in the morning.
How long now?
It's been 15 years. My nephew, Torrey Darnell Manuel, was shot 7 times with the AK-47 in Palm Beach County. And my sister was grieving, and I feel like I had to help her. And I did. I did what I can, because my sister had, through the grief, she had a stroke, a mild stroke. And I had just stepped out on faith and said I need to help my sister.
And so what motivated you in getting involved in this overcoming gun violence?
Angela motivated me, the work that she's doing and the person that she is. I call Angela Angel Mama, and many people call her Saint.
Wow.
The work that she does is so incredibly unique and helpful to the families of the murdered children in Palm Beach County. She ministers to the families, to the mothers. She helps them in every way that she possibly can. The police call her first when there's a murder in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
And she comes to the scene. It could be 2 o'clock Sunday morning. It could be any time of day or night. Whatever she's doing, she gets to the scene, and usually there are bereaved parents there, and she comforts them. Everybody knows Angela, what she does. Many times the parents can't even look at the body, and Angela has to identify the body. She goes through and she appears at every funeral. She's been at 418 funerals so far.
418?
Yes, sir. And it's a draining work. It's a sad work. But
so were these funerals all a result of violence?
Yes, they are.
Oh. That is really sad.
Yeah. Well, Angela keeps giving. She has to comfort the mothers, and that doesn't stop. She's still comforting her sister after 18 years, after 15 years. And all these mothers have a bereaved group called MAMA. All the members of Angela's Sad Club. And they're there, they've earned the membership in the hardest way that a parent can earn a membership in any club, by losing their child. And Angela really is a mama to all of these people whenever they're needed, even if they need financial help. And Angela struggles financially because she doesn't ask for anything. She just somehow receives. And in all these years, the community, when I got involved, I didn't know what to expect, and I started talking to commissioners, the county commissioners. I started talking to clergy. I started talking to a lot of the leaders in the community, And what I found was that every single person loved Angela, respected Angela, and was so involved in their minds, but they took her for granted. The community was taking Angela for granted. She never asked, and she always was there.
So tell us a little bit about your background. You know, with your assistance and your community services, tell us, our audience, a little bit about your background.
Sure. I started at age 20 in the civil rights movement.
And where was that?
That was in Long Island, New York. And I had wanted to move into a community. My wife was very pregnant. She gave birth 2 weeks after this incident I'll describe. And I went to sign a contract to move into the community. And the real estate broker wouldn't sign the contract with me. But I was very innocent. And I kept on talking with him. Finally, he got up, he walked around, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "You look like a good American boy."
So why didn't he want to sign the contract?
Because at that time, there was total discrimination. In that community, and almost all communities on Long Island, a black person couldn't move into a neighborhood of their choice. If it was a white neighborhood, they could not move in. So, and the law protected them. So he said, "You look like a good white American boy. I'm sure you're not married to a black girl," because I had explained my wife couldn't be with me. So I, at that time, had two choices. One, to get up and punch him. He was a big guy, and I don't believe in violence. The other was to sign the contract and do something about it. So immediately, a week later, I was in the community, and I found one other person who felt like I did, and we started what we call the Fair Housing Group. The Fair Housing Group was to change the condition that existed at that time. And we worked for 8 years, and our ultimate result was a law that is trying to be pushed back on now, but a law that's lasted all this time that allows not only black people to move into community they want to, but people in wheelchairs, handicapped people, anybody that wants to move in is free to move in, and the law protects them, and it's been very, very, very effective, and I'm really proud of that. I moved on after that to world hunger, which I thought saw as another injustice in the world, and I started a organization called Impact on Hunger. The organization was very successful in every way, except we didn't even make a dent in ending world hunger. But we did make some dents in the attitude towards world hunger. For instance, we were the people who spoke to CARE and Catholic Relief and the big organizations who were handing out care packages. And I went to them every week and said, "Look, handing out care packages, it's necessary, it's a good thing you're doing, but give a person a fishing rod and they won't need to have the fish handed to them every so often."
Which makes sense. You cannot really end hunger totally, but you can help prevent to a certain extent. And similarly, that brings me to the point of the violence. Because nowadays, that's one of the most sickening things. In many countries worldwide, and I don't really want to call the names of countries, but that's one of the fear people got in going to different countries. You're scared of crime and violence, and that's why I think you don't call it ending gun violence, but overcoming gun violence. So Angela, you tell us a little bit, I'm going to be jumping around with you all because I know audience out there, viewers from different countries who suffer these consequences of crime. There are a lot of mothers who go through this. There are a lot of people who suffer this situation. What do you think are some of the solutions to preventing crime and violence?
If I may connect world hunger to gun violence, it was and it is endable. The reason that I started this organization was not because I was an idealist that wanted to do something impossible, but because President Jimmy Carter had just commissioned a commission that came back with the results saying everybody in the world, there's enough food for everybody to eat. Now that ran against everything people knew. The Malthusian theory was that if you population keeps on increasing, the food production can't keep up with it, and people believed in scarcity, that there wasn't enough. And this commission came back with incredibly ironclad evidence that there was enough. There was a missing element, which is the same missing element in the question that you're asking now. That missing element was political will. So our job was to create the political will. It never got done, although we made great inroads at the United Nations and elsewhere to do that, and with the media, so as a matter of fact.
From a godly point of view, if children are born, their sustenance will be provided, like the milk in the breast of a mother. So I like that commission, and I like that statement that there is enough food for everybody on earth because, you know, God has created the provision out there. It's some link that is missing.
Well, the missing link was the political will, rising this to a level that the earth, all the governments, all the clergy made a commitment to end hunger. It's basically a distribution problem since the food is available. Now, I link that to this. What I learned there was very important for the work that I'm doing now.
So are you saying if the political leaders and the governments and the religious leaders were to come together and work towards ending crime and violence, it will surely happen?
Well, ending is a little bit extreme, but overcoming it and moderating it and bringing it down to a more reasonable level.
Why do you say that?
But
I just want to be provocative. Why do you say
well,
that?
no, please be. The whole idea of the leadership is only one step in the process. The process ends when the community stands up, when everybody stands up. We're starting our project with the leadership. We're coming to people like you, who is a leader in your community, and we're trying to make sense to you and give you the hope and the understanding that, yes, we can really push back on this, and it's not an idealistic thing. We can make a huge difference. You have the job of reaching your constituents, your flock, and that has to be done in short order. But any grassroots movement, any effective grassroots movement that works comes from the top and comes from the bottom, but ultimately the power is in the bottom. It's the community reaching out. Now people now say, or realize, we've had enough. We've had enough. Angela's calls day after day, week after week, and year after year. It's a travesty.
So we cannot stop, okay, we cannot put an end to crime, because I am thinking, as long as human beings exist, like the Cain and Abel story that you were talking about before we went on the show, human beings will have that instinct to want to commit crime and certain things, but we can work towards preventing it.
Yes.
We can work towards preventing it, which is exactly what you all are doing, which is, so this idea that you have about overcoming violence and gun violence in approaching the religious leaders, what is this whole mechanism about?
Well, there's good in each of us and bad in each of us. Each of us is capable of love. Each of us is capable of hate. The thing is to create an atmosphere where the love is more rational to come out, where it's more emotionally sound to come out than the hate. And an example to answer your question is that these young people who commit most of the violence, they have a hopelessness in their community and their upbringing. Even if they proceed with their educations, it's harder for, let's say, a black person, a black youth, to get a job, or to get a really well-paying job. And they drop out of school, they hang out in the streets, they save guns. It's not because they sell guns, it's not because they're bad people. It's because they don't see their lives going anywhere. And so the condition that we want to change, the whole bottom line of this, is to create opportunity, to have young people have a chance to be trained, if they're not good in school, to be trained to do computer work where they can make more in a year than they can selling drugs on the street. And this is possible. It can be done.
So you're saying a lot of the social issues contribute towards gun violence.
Gun violence is the symptom, and the disease is the conditions and the attitudes in basically economically deprived communities.
So Angela, tell us, what kind of feedback do you get from mothers as to some of the reasons behind gun violence and crime? Because, you know, we got viewers worldwide, and they all face this problem in some way or the other. I mean, it's not only kids that get involved in gun violence. You have husbands and wives and family members. You know, this sort of mass murder taking place all over the place for many different reasons. What kind of feedback do you get from these mothers who have lost their loved ones? What have they been thinking? What kind of ideas they got? What do they think are the reasons? Because you see, a politician, a news reporter, a person generally out there may have a lot of different ideas from their own perspective. But a mother who has lost her loved one, she will definitely have a different feelings, and her perspective will be of reality and realistic. Share some of those ideas or views you would have got from some of those mothers who have lost their loved ones.
Sure. For one thing, those mothers are devastated because they have lost, they don't carry this child for 9 months, and now the child went off to school and then come back home. Came back home in a body bag. Okay, but a lot of these mothers who are losing these kids, they are single mothers or grandmothers that's raising the kids for the mothers. They don't have income, jobs, as Steve was saying, and a lot of the kids are going out trying to provide for their sisters, their siblings. So, so that's how they get into drugs or stealing or getting guns, shooting one another, because there's so many guns on the street now, it's hard to bring them in. So it's very, very hard for them to survive out there now. So that's why they turn into the streets, and the streets are their families. So this is very,
but you
very
have
difficult.
people who are not on this poverty line and these issues, and they're still into this sort of violence, gun violence, domestic violence. You know, I mean, I may be getting out a little way out of the area that you're concentrating on, but what do you think about that?
Well, we concentrate on domestic violence as well. We just don't, it's just not black on black crime. We cover it all. And it's an ego thing. For a lot of them, they can go out to a club and you step on my shoes and they want to shoot. It's just so much taking place right now with the guns. A lot of kids get these guns, they feel like they have power. You just put power in my hands so I can shoot this, shoot this person with no, and I feel like I can get away with it.
So what are you saying, whether it be kids or not, an angry husband, a wife, or whatever, ego, anger, hate. You got ego, anger, hate that can be.
Everything coming
It's
to
not
play
only
now.
poverty.
Right.
Because you know there are countries where, or there are murders and crimes, has nothing to do with poverty. A wealthy man killing another wealthy person.
Yeah, it's everything taking place now. It's just,
it's all about hate and anger and ego.
Everything.
Right. We're concerned, we work with the Parkland kids. We're concerned with all violence, all particularly gun violence. And it doesn't matter who it is, where it is.
Yeah, because the Parkland shooting, the young man who did the shooting, he was not on poverty line.
Right.
He was just probably an angry person.
Well, I have a speakers panel. This is another program that we do, but I have a speakers panel, and we go to churches, to communities, to organizations, wherever we're asked, wherever there's an audience of 100 or more people. And we have a couple of kids from Parkland that speak. One of them usually, at least, was in the line of fire. We have kids from other schools who have become activists about this. We have people from Angela's mama group. We have gay kids that speak about the pulse. And we have a couple of experts that speak about other aspects of gun violence. But what I'm trying to do is present the whole issue from various perspectives. And we talk to live audiences, up to 500 people we've done so far. And these panels are amazing, and they get the attention of people, and people become moved and some of them become involved in the issue. And that's all part of this whole thing about raising the issue of gun violence, which the Parkland kids have done brilliantly to this point. But raising the issue, again, to become a priority in the grassroots, and people standing up and saying, we've had enough, enough is enough. We're going to change this, we're going to change the politicians who are against doing something for gun control. We're going to change the attitudes of people, and we're all going to stand up, and we can do it because it's a doable thing.
Definitely. And you know, we have been speaking for more than 20 minutes now. It's almost 25 minutes. Could you believe that? Oh yes, we have been speaking for over 20 to 25 minutes. So we got to go on a short break. When we come back, I like that point you ended with. You know, there are some politicians who are working towards overcoming gun violence and crime. There are some law enforcement officers. Not everybody are going the 9 yards to do it, but I like your involvement in trying to get the religious leaders involved. So when we come back after the short break, I would like you to share with our viewers how religious leaders and ministries, etc., can get together, because I've always supported that idea. Religious leaders and community leaders need to work together with law enforcement and the government in trying to prevent crime, overcome gun violence, and all these things, because they control a great and massive mass of people in the world, in the countries. So we need their support in helping to prevent this. So thank you very much. After the short break, we'll continue.
Alhikmat has been serving the Muslim and non-Muslim communities for the past 30 years through the publishing and distribution of Islamic literature and radio, and also TV programs plus interfaith activities. Due to the demand and many requests of non-Muslims and new Muslims for Islamic literature, we request you to donate generously $1 fi sabilillah in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards distribution of the Holy Quran, Alhikmat TV 24/7 online, Dawah publications, Surah and Zikr books, genealogy of the prophets, feeding and clothing the poor, orphans, and the needy, students seeking to study Islam, printing of Islamic publications, our monthly Muslim magazine, One God, Same Religion Dawah brochures, Quranic Arabic reader with Tajweed for students, and also to support our Dawah activities, you can also contact Alhikmat offices at 954-986-0158. At 954-986-0158, or you can also visit our website at www.alhikmat.com. That is www.alhikmat.com. You can also make checks payable to Alhikmat Services Incorporated, or you can donate with a credit card on PayPal at www.alhikmat.com. Alhikmat TV presents a great way to spread the Sunnah. Have a Sunnah attitude. In the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in chapter 33, verse 21, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, لَقَدْ كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةً حَسَنًا, that ye indeed in the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a beautiful pattern of conduct. Join us for our 100,000 t-shirt drive. For more details or to place an order, contact Alhikmat Services at 1-800-804-0267, or you can visit us on our website at www.alhikmattv.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All praises are due to Allahu Allah. All praises are due to Allahu Allah. Allahu 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 Allah. Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you would like to dedicate copies of one of these publications as Sadaqah Jariyah, continuous blessings for your parents or dear ones who have passed away, or fi sabilillah in the path of Allah, please give us a call so we can place your names on these dedicated publications. You can call us at 954-986-0158, or you can also visit us at www.alhikmat.com.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator of all races. Allahu, 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 Allah.
Salam alayka, ya Habib.
Bouncy Kings Bouncy Castles presents brand new luxury castles for all events. You can contact us at telephone number 749-4342, or you can also email us at bouncykings1@gmail.com. A-Class Glamour presents to you wholesaling and retailing of premium lines of cosmetics for all skin types, designer jewelry, and many accessories. Brands include ColourPop, Maybelline, Revlon Professional, Urban Decay, Sephora, and many more. To get a hold of these products, you can call Sadiq Khan at 345-5824 or Amira Khan at 759-6089. You can also visit our Facebook page at A-Class Glamour to follow for newly released lines of products.
Welcome back to Global Issues on Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. Again, it's a pleasure to have with us in Alhikmat studio Angelo Williams and Steve West, people who are very much involved in community services and specifically right now working very hard behind overcoming gun violence. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did enjoy that conversation, and I'm sure viewers worldwide would have enjoyed what you guys have said and benefited a lot from it. So how do you expect to get religious leaders and other community leaders, and you are targeting religious leaders, to get involved? Because we did end on that note that the government tries, some don't. Police officers, some do, some don't. You know, a lot of people in their jobs for the money. And we got to be real. They're in there for the money. It's not from their heart that they would really love to see prevention of crime and domestic violence and gun violence, etc. So it is important, and I support you 100% in going out and outreaching to religious leaders to get their congregations aware of this and to help work towards overcoming gun violence. So Angelo, tell us a little bit about what motivated you to get into this line of getting religious leaders involved? Because a lot of times people think it's all the end and solution in the hands of politics and politicians.
You know, it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle for 15 years trying to get the religious people involved in this. And my good friend Steve West came along, because I've been going into churches and church after church after church, trying to get them to help me with this situation for 15 years. And finally, everybody is on the same page now. You know, we have to do something about what's going on out here in this community with all these, you know, murders. Every week we got a murder, we got a murder, we murder. And these same people and same mothers have to go to these churches to get their loved ones buried in that church.
Yeah.
They had a funeral in that
so
church.
So the church is automatically involved.
Yes. And that's what I've been speaking about for 15 years. And when Steve came up with this great idea, and I just embraced it right away, because this is something that I've been wanting for years.
I think everyone and everybody should be involved in working towards overcoming crime, gun violence. This may sound like a joke, but the only people who may not, and I hope they don't feel offended what I'm saying, the only people who may not be interested in overcoming gun violence and preventing gun violence, maybe funeral homes, because they are the only ones that make money from it.
They make a
you
lot
know,
of money.
sometimes you hear them, is like, business slow. I'm like, what do you mean by business slow? Is it that people are not dying fast enough? So other than them, everybody else in the world should be involved in preventing and overcoming gun violence.
Right. Well, they are.
Well, what do you think, Steve West, about gun control? I want to get a little provocative here. What do you think about gun control? That's a big issue. You know, there are some countries where people are not allowed to have a gun, but yet you have a lot of criminals with guns. So does it mean that if people are not allowed to buy guns, it will end the crime? It doesn't mean that, because there are countries where people are not allowed to have a gun, only licensed people, restricted, etc., based on conditions, but yet there are a lot of crime. How do you think the world should go about this? What is your experience and opinion on gun control? It's a big issue in America right now.
Well, our position, again, is very fundamental, and that is that it needs to be raised to the level of a top priority in our county, in our country, and in the world. And our county is kind of a laboratory for doing that around Angela's work and what she's done, and the credibility and the love and respect that she's built up over the years. Now, as for how we're doing this, first of all, we don't exclude anybody. People have different ideas. People have the idea that we have to take all the guns away, all the automatic weapons away. We've got to build safer schools, and there's all kinds of ideas. All of them have some merit. All of them have some downside to them. We're not judging what people want to do. What we're trying to do is get people to do, because some of the stupidest ideas or stupidest sounding ideas today may become the best ideas when they're played out, and vice versa. So again, we want to get people aware. We want to get people informed. We want to get people inspired, and we want to get people involved. And ultimately, it's involved. Now, how do you do that? What I've learned, particularly in Sri Lanka and in the other things that I've done.
So you have been, have you been to Sri Lanka?
Oh, sure. That's where I didn't mention that. That's where Sarvodaya Shramadana is.
Okay.
And that's the group that has unified that country and brought people with an average income, you're not going to believe this, but $11 a year. In other words, money is of very much value, but no value to them. It's a bartering society. And yet there's nobody starving there in that country, and outside of a political revolution that was taking place for the 50 years that we've been working on this, the country is a country of love and sustenance. And that's taken place because people have gone and done for themselves with just little organization and inspiration from us. And it's just amazing how that country has come to the point that they're at. If I may give you an organization of a small community there, just one example, which can be brought to the United States. We went to a community that needed a road to come to from their little village in the jungle to the main road. And the government has been promising literally for decades to come in and do that. And we came in with the thought, don't wait for the government. You have to take the matter into your own hands. So what happened was that we organized the community, and I won't go into the details, but the community became organized, and they decided the project that they wanted, which was build a road. And every single person in that community, whether they were Buddhist or Hindu or Muslim, or even Christian, they all got together, and we gave them rakes and shovels, and we came there and we built the road. We cleared and leveled the ground, and we also had a backhoe in there to take the big trees out of the way. Anyway, before we had come, 2 weeks before we had come, the community was prepared for us, and the little girls in the community had prepared a dance that they were going to do for us. And what happened was that the mayor's daughter was practicing her dance in front of a mirror in her hut. They lived in huts with no doors. A cobra came through the doorway, bit her, and she was rushed to the hospital, but rushing there was that they had to walk her through the jungle. They couldn't get to the road.
Wow.
And she died on the way to the hospital. So this was not only something that they had asked us to do and we planned to do it, but it became just incredibly, incredibly important. And that road was built with the cooperation of every single person, rich, poor, whatever they were. And this has gone on now in 16,000 communities. And there are criteria set for that community to become a real Sarvodaya community. They have to develop a bank. They lend to women $50, and the woman develops a business. It could be candy making, it could be a brick business. And when they make their first $50 in profit, they give that to another woman. And eventually the money gets paid back to the bank, $50, and they have 98+% return, and there's no interest on that money, and people just take that money on their honor. They have preschools in every community that's a fully developed community, so kids get an education, and that's probably the most important element in all of it. And we include every single element of humanity, and dance and learning and the government, everything that human beings do, and they do it themselves.
So basically, you are saying that if in a place where you had that level of poverty and difficulties, and the people came out of different faiths and different walks of life, the local communities, all the people came out and worked together.
Right.
I mean, to build a road, then why can't people work together to overcome crime and gun violence?
And other
everybody need to get involved.
Right, and have preschools in the communities and do the things that are the actual disease rather than the symptom. The symptom will diminish when the disease is cured.
So we're saying, and I have always been telling people that if the human mind or the human being is educated and well groomed, that can be one of the greatest forms of gun violence prevention and crime prevention.
Right.
Because the gun does not work on its own. It's the human being. The real criminal is the human being. Locking the guns up, yes, we need to prevent because the availability can be very tempting, but the human being is the person who is the criminal, not the gun.
Well, it's your own self-image is where it starts. Remember we talked about well-heeled young people and adults going and mowing people down indiscriminately.
Yeah,
That hate that they have
so people can kill without a gun. They can chop, they can beat with a piece of iron.
Right, or a knife or a handgun. But it's that hate which is projected out, which is self-hate.
So that's what we need to solve.
That's
the hate,
that's
the ego, the anger.
Yes, what you said in the beginning of the program.
The hate, the ego, the anger.
And that is certainly we can make a difference in it.
Yeah, because
we
people
can't
strangle
we can't
people.
solve it.
Yeah.
But we can't solve it completely. People are going to be self-hating because of experiences in their life, but nobody's born that way.
Nowadays, you have people take a motor car and they drive into a van into a crowd. So, you know, gun violence may one day become history. But the hate and the anger and the ego is what we need to work on.
Right, and if a person is educated, they have less of a chance to be involved in this kind of thing. If a person has a job or hope to having a good job,
well, you know, education is one thing, but what are they being educated is another. A man can be educated in a field, in a career, that he has no humanitarian feelings, no humanitarian understanding, no love, no affection, no caring, no community bond and family affection and feelings. So he might be an ideal material to be the worst criminal.
Right.
You know.
So let's go back to how you started this segment of the program, and that is, why are we concentrating on the clergy as the first pod, this first segment of the community? First of all, we're not exclusively concentrating on the clergy. our first event was to organize the leaders, to bring together the leaders of the community who've been taking Mama for granted, taking this issue for granted, and having them all in one room to talk about this together. And that was very successful. And we had great participation, great turnout, and continuation of the discussion. But the clergy, I'm going to kind of paraphrase, but turn about a little bit, the words that you said at the beginning. The police have a job to protect the community. Educators have a job to educate the community, and so forth. But the clergy has a job to make the life of their parishioners and the circumstances of the community to improve them. That's your job.
Yeah.
And so far, the whole reaction from the community, and I've spoken to a couple of hundred clergy people in trying to tell them about this, and every single one, virtually every single one, has had, why aren't we doing that? Or we are doing that, and why aren't we organized? And part of what the phase we're in now, with this gun violence weekend that we're going to have, anti-gun violence weekend, is unity. Unity of the clergy. And you and I have been working.
So you are having an anti-violence weekend?
A weekend of more of information with one action that people can have. Because remember, the three principles here is information, inspiration, and involvement, activity. So that translates.
So you're getting people united together.
Exactly, united together of all religions. We have every religion you can think of already involved here. Now we're trying to build the volume, so we have a real noticeable event that happens that the media will pay attention to, and the politicians will pay attention to, and realize there's a voter block and that things are changing at the grassroots, that we're actually not taking it anymore, but like the people building the road, we're standing up. We're not waiting for the government to do it.
Right.
The people with the best access to the grassroots is the clergy. The people who are, whether they think it or not, and most do think it, they have an obligation, a part of the job description, to stand up to this. So that's why it's been so easy. The combination of what Angela has earned over these 15 years in respect and love in the community, and the fact that clergymen deep down understand. And we've got.
And I would think it's not only understand, but clergy, that's their mission.
That's their obligation. That's
you know,
the mission.
That's the obligation. That's the right word. They should all be there to enjoin good and forbid evil. The law enforcement, okay, they got their work literally, the government, they build the country physically, economics, but the clergy are really that spiritual bond of people who should be working towards preventing these sort of things and symptoms of harms and violence, etc.
So what we're aiming for, again addressing your original question, is unity. And we know each other because we work on unity of the interfaith, unity, and you're very committed to that, and what you say and what you do and what you inspire is incredible. And you and the people doing this have found binds between the different religions. You have different religions, you have different ways of looking at the world, but you're learning and accepting others rather than trying to make everybody your way. And I'm not talking about Muslims in particular, I'm talking about all the groups that are involved, all the people who are involved in this issue. So we're trying to expand that and show that unity is the way that we move forward in the world, the way that we have power in the world, and the way that we really have brotherhood and sisterhood in the world. It is something that you should actually speak to this in your own experience, but the feelings that you have seeing yourself working together, understanding and being in unity with other religions, the power that gives.
And we can take issues and work together on those issues.
Yes.
Like the violence.
Yes. Right. So violence right now is one of the top issues in the world. We don't have to create it as we did in World Hunger from a little commission that nobody knew about. it already exists. The Parkland kids have done an
Yes.
amazing
Oh, it's
job on
happening
that.
all over.
And the murderers, ironically, have done an amazing job on that. This is not a political issue. It's a human issue.
Definitely.
It's not a one religion issue. It's a human issue.
Yes.
And that's the part that we're trying to touch in the clergy to pass this on.
And these criminals, they have nothing when it comes to religion. They don't care what religion you belong to and what faith you have. Hate, ego, anger, they just get rid of whomsoever they wish to.
Yeah. Well, in some ways they care. In South Carolina, a young man went into a church and just cold-bloodedly murdered the worshipers. Well, he did care about religion. That was something that he was expressing his anger about religion. There was something deeply inside of him that was threatened by that. So yeah, it's all tied together. Everything is tied together.
Yes.
And another of my guiding principles is that everything needs to be win-win. In fact, I try to make everything win-win-win. And the ultimate goal here is a win for the community, it's a win for the world. But the win for each clergy person here is that they have an opportunity, if they're not already taking it, many are, but an opportunity to do something for their community and for their parishioners. That is a powerful motivator for the clergy, and that's why I'm finding the clergy like you are not only thinking, oh, this is a good idea, but becoming involved and active.
Yes.
And this is going to go past our clergy weekend. That is just a step on the path to overcoming gun violence.
Well, I like that. I really love that. And you know, you have our full support. And Alhikmat TV will broadcast, we'll advertise, we will try to get this message out. And you know what? I wish that other people and viewers worldwide who are listening to this program and viewing this program can also be mobilized and motivated to do similar activities in their own cities, towns, and states and countries, because we need it worldwide.
Right. Well, we are preparing a manual so other communities can, in some ways, address this issue in their own way, because every community is different, of course, and has different aspects to the problem. But we're preparing a manual which will be available to anyone who wants it. Of course, there's no charge for that.
Beautiful.
And if I may say one word about the actual event on October 5th, 6th, and 7th, because we haven't gotten to that.
And we're zooming out on time right now. So tell us a little bit about that so we can conclude, because we are running out of time.
I understand. On 5th, 6th, and 7th, the mothers of Mama have called on the community and the religious community to say we've had enough and we're going to stand up to this, we're doing something about it. So the unity is that all religions are going to do a sermon on that particular weekend. The Muslims, the Jews on Friday, the Jews on Saturday, the Christians on Sunday.
What's the topic again?
On overcoming
gun violence?
The name of it is We Shall Overcome Gun Violence.
So you're calling on all religious leaders to do a sermon, a reminder to their congregations on that weekend, whether it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, against gun violence or overcoming
and
gun violence.
Think of the power of that with the politicians, with the media, but there's another element to it. This is right before an election, and we want the community to become active. So in any house of worship that wants it, we're going to provide a League of Women Voters volunteer and the papers to register to vote, non-partisan. To anybody who hasn't registered to vote, it's the last weekend that you can register to vote in Florida. And we're going to provide those people, and also vote by mail. And also we're promoting something called Souls to the Polls, which is a particularly black endeavor that's gone on for years and is well loved. People go to the
Souls to the Polls. I like that.
The polls. But our weekend in the black community we're calling Polls to the Souls, because anybody who can't go down to the polls together, what we're doing is we're bringing the polls into the churches so people can actually register to vote or vote by mail if they can't get to the polls.
Beautiful. So Angelo, tell us a little bit. You got what, 30 seconds to conclude this program here now. Tell us, how do you feel about this? What do you think you can get out of this? Or what do you think about the show today? Tell us in 30 seconds. We have been talking for more than 20 minutes in this second segment.
I'm so excited that we're getting ready to do this event, and it'll bring education to the community as well. And I really appreciate you having me and Steve and I on your show.
Thank you very
and being
much.
able to get this out to the public is very knowledgeable for us as well.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
30 seconds. What do you have to say as we conclude?
Okay, well, I think Angela said it all. So I appreciate what you are doing, not only this show, but what you're doing in the community for unity. And we need many, many, many of you in order to make this world a better place, because that's the bottom line.
Thank you very much. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to Angela Williams and Steve West, and they're working under the banner of this organization called MAMA, Mothers Against Murderers Association. Very powerful. They're bringing religious leaders now to get together, clergy members, to voice their opinion and work and unite together to overcome gun violence. It has really been a pleasure to have them on the show, and I hope that you viewers worldwide who face these same problems can come together, benefit from their experience and their motivation, and do similar things in your countries, in your states, in your towns, etc. Thank you very much again. Stay tuned to Alhikmat TV 24/7 online. I'm your host, Shafayat Muhammad.
All praises are due to Allahu Allah. All praises are due to Allahu Allah. Allahu 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 Allah. Allahu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhum. If you would like to dedicate copies of one of these publications as Sadaqah Jariyah, continuous blessings for your parents or dear ones who have passed away, or fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, please give us a call so we can place your names on these dedicated publications. You can call us at 954-986-0158, or you can also visit us at www.alhikmat.com.
Allah is the creator of different faces. Allah is the creator of all races. Allahu, 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 Allah.
Salam alayka, ya Habib.
Bouncy Kings, Bouncy Castles presents brand new luxury castles for all events. You can contact us at telephone number 749-4342, or you can also email us at bouncykings1@gmail.com. A-Class Glamour presents to you wholesaling and retailing of premium lines of cosmetics for all skin types, designer jewelry, and many accessories. Brands include ColourPop, Maybelline, Revlon Professional, Urban Decay, Sephora, and many more. To get a hold of these products, you can call Sadiq Khan at 345-5824 or Amira Khan at 759-6089. You can also visit our Facebook page at A-Class Glamour to follow for newly released lines of products. Alhikmat Dawah Services is offering a Ramadan Umrah trip visiting Medina and Mecca on May 11th to May 20th, 2019. Group will be led by Shaikh Shafayat with an approximate cost of $24.95 per person, departing from Miami, Florida, inshallah. If you are interested in this package, please contact Alhikmat Dawah Services at USA Office 954-986-0158 or our Trinidad office 868-325-8276, or you can email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
Allah.